What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you have a nice and full belly. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving from myself, from my family, to you, to yours, whoever you are, wherever you are, however you celebrated. I hope that the day has been exactly what you wanted, exactly what you needed, and exactly what you deserve, because you deserve the world, to be quite frank with you. We're here in our Dallas Cowboys postgame show in the Bleacher Report app, the very best app in the world of sports. A very good day for me as a sports fan because I'm a Manchester United fan. It was a big, impressive day. The first win in the Amorim era, and I was able to keep track of all my sports relative notifications and what I needed thanks to the Bleacher Report app. So you can follow me here in the BR app right down below. You can follow me on social media. I'm at RJ Ochoa on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. RJ.Ochoa on TikTok. I don't know my username on Blue Sky. It's very complicated, but I'm there. Just search my name. You'll find me. Obviously, you can check out my work at bloggingtheboys.com and all of my visual discussing work, whatever you want to call it, on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. But we're here in the BR app following the Dallas Cowboys Thanksgiving Day win. That's right, Thanksgiving Day dub against the loser New York Giants. I see you, C. Davis 115 says a Thanksgiving Day win, no matter what, is always a win. And that's where we have to start. I know, and we can talk about it all you guys want, about the tank, and I know about wanting the draft pick, and I know about Travis Hunter or Ashton Genty, which is a bad idea. Don't go there, all right? We've already lived this life if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. But that being said, I know that there are a lot of you who want to tank. I understand it. I get it. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong, because there's no wrong way to go about being a fan. You can do whatever you want. You can root for whatever you want. You can whatever, however you want. All right. That's the way this whole thing goes. But that being said, all right, it feels pretty good to win. There is nothing, because this is a unique holiday. Okay. And look, Christmas is the GOAT holiday, to be very clear with you, but this is a unique thing for us and for Detroit Lions fans. And they flew very close to the sun today. But, you know, a win is a win is a win is a win. And that being said, Thanksgiving and the Dallas Cowboys are synonymous with one another, right? Whoever you are, wherever you are, like I said, your life likely has revolved around this game for this, on this holiday for the duration of your life. You have likely had whoever prepares the meal or whatever the case may be. You likely have, to some degree, whether it's been very forcefully or very kindly, say, please, structure the meal beforehand. Let's eat during the Lions game. Let's eat during the night game. Ever since 2006, when we've had this one, we've got Packers, Dolphins getting ready to start right now. And it's a part of how we experience this holiday. It's just as much a part of the tradition as stuffing or cranberry sauce, if you're one of those weirdos, or rolls or leftovers, or going out to shop on Black Friday if you get a head start on things on Thanksgiving Day night. No judgment here. And so to get this win, and to get this win in a dominating fashion, and to get this win against a division rival, for it to be the first win at home this season, for Rico Dowdle to have the first 100-yard rushing performance by a Dallas Cowboys running back since week 3 of last year. That's right. What you just saw was, I don't want to say history, but it was the first time that a Dallas Cowboys running back had over 100 yards rushing in a single game since Tony Pollard did it in week 3 of last year on the road against the Arizona Cardinals when the Cowboys got waxed. Rico Dowdle also had the first rushing touchdown by a Dallas Cowboys running back in AT&T Stadium this season. All right. They had one singular rushing touchdown in the building so far this season for the Cowboys before Thanksgiving Day, and it came by way of Dak Prescott. So obviously not a running back. Dak Prescott, by the way, I tweeted this out. What is up with the 4 bottles of water? I have no idea. That was very strange to me that Dak Prescott needed 4 bottles of water during this game. Look, I'm a hydrating person. I've got some water right now, but 4 bottles is a bit intense, even for me. That being said, when we look at what the Cowboys have done, they're 5-7, and we're going to take a look at some standings in a little bit because, well, let's be straight up, we have a problem. But they have won 2 games in 5 days. It is never, ever, 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 ever an easy thing to do, but they have done it. They have won 2 games in 5 days, and both of those games were against division rivals. Now, I'm not here to tell you that I think the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East, because I think it's a tall enough order to ask them to be the 3rd wildcard team in the NFC. Again, I don't find that to be a probable thing, but we're just talking in a friendly kind of way right now. But to win 2 games against your division in a 5-day stretch, to do that when everyone was counting you out, when you were entering this in the lowest of low periods ever, and in the process to beat your former defensive coordinator, who everybody wants to give all the credit to in Dan Quinn, to get your first win at home, even if it was against a moribund New York Giants team. This is objectively an impressive thing. And even if this team misses the playoffs, because they probably will, these are good things. It is a badass thing. I don't care how you feel, if your team tank or your team win out. It is a badass thing that Micah Parsons, my fellow Bleacher Report content creator, Micah Parsons, that he said, hell no, we're not tanking. And that ever since he said that, he has been individually living up to the challenge. It is awesome to see players like DeMarvion Overshown balling out, to see Jalen Tolbert taking another step, to see Brandon Cooks come back and play so well, to see Cooper Rush play well, honestly. I think that is reflective of the coaching staff. I thought this was a game that Cooper Rush was in really solid control over. It's frustrating on some level to see somebody like Rico Dowdle thriving, because this is a team that tried to force feed Zeke Elliott down our throats like it was the year 2018, and we were an opposing defense loading up the box. But nevertheless, we saw some very, very, very good things on Thanksgiving Day from the Dallas Cowboys. I know that the score happened at the very end to make this whatever the case may be, but they won, which is what good teams do, and they covered, which is what great teams do. All right, it was a 4.5 point line, depending on exactly where you looked, and the Cowboys did cover. They won and covered in a home game this season at AT&T Stadium, when we thought that was impossible. C. Davis 115 says, I would rather the draft pick, but Thanksgiving Day needs a win regardless. C. Davis 115 offered again. People really counted Cooper Rush out. He's legit. Glad our backup. He's legit. Glad he's our backup. We can rely on him. I agree with that. I also think it was fair to say, look, at this point, I want to see Trey Lance. There's no revisionist history happening here. I think that everything we've said about this team is fair, and everything that we've felt about this team is fair. They have impressed us, and they have proven that they are not the pushovers that, say, the New York Giants are. And for that, I will give them a legitimate golf clap and a legitimate round of respect, because it is a very, very, very difficult thing to get up off the mat when the whole world is pointing at you and laughing and snickering and throwing their popcorn. But the Cowboys did it, and their reward is they get to sit back and relax, and we get to sit back and relax. This is why a win on Thanksgiving Day is so awesome. All right. If maybe you're not a Dallas Cowboys fan, I know we have some who end up popping in the chat and like to troll and whatnot. But when you're a Dallas Cowboys fan and you get the win on Thanksgiving Day, college football is amazing. I mean, think about this. The Cowboys got this win. It's in the bank. We don't have to worry about it. We don't have to stress. And you can do whatever you want tomorrow. And then Saturday is going to be glorious. Saturday is going to be amazing. My Sun Devils are going to win the Territory Cup. It's going to be amazing. We've got, obviously, UT-A&M. We've got all sorts of stuff. The college football playoff. It's going to be just a wonderful time. And we get to enjoy it all now with all this behind us. Then on Sunday, we get to enjoy the NFL. We get to hang out with Scott Hanson on the Red Zone channel. We get to see this crazy Ravens-Eagles game, and all of that happens because of the stress that is alleviated by the fact that the Cowboys got this win on Thanksgiving Day, and all the things that I said, by the way, you get to enjoy with leftovers in the fridge. That's the best part of the holiday. I see you, S Master Flash. This 20-point home deficit streak is over. For anyone who was unaware, the Cowboys entered this game on a 6-game streak of allowing a 20-point home deficit. That's right. In 6 consecutive games at home specifically, the Cowboys had allowed a 20-point deficit. That is dead. It is gone. Like I said, they got a rushing touchdown as well. They got a 100-yard rusher, obviously, in Rico Dowdle. He did both of those things. And this was kind of an exorcism, right? If you think about it that way. They got rid of so many of these monkeys on their back that all these cute little things are now gone and done and whatever. And now we have to come up with new ways to hate on them, which isn't hard. But still, these things were highly, highly, highly annoying. And again, they're 5-7. I'm not here to tell you like, hey, go start looking at tickets and whatnot, things like that. But they have, in a very impressive manner, stood tall and said, we're not going to go out like that. And for that, I think we are all grateful. We all give them our respect. And I understand if you are Team Tank and you're upset, I'm not going to tell you that that's the wrong way to go about this. It's not the way that I'm going about this personally. It's not the way some people are going about it. We all have different opinions, and that's okay. But I am impressed that the Cowboys managed to be adults. This is the most popular adults table, kids table day of the year, and the Dallas Cowboys deserve a seat at the adults table. It's like when Greg in Succession finally did something legitimate and he could go sit with Tom and Shiv and everybody. The Dallas Cowboys today are Greg, so good for them. I'm looking on Twitter, by the way, to see if there's any update on CeeDee Lamb. That was a very weird thing as we get to the game itself. My best guess at what happened is that CeeDee was somewhat injured, and the Cowboys did not feel like it was a serious thing, which is why there was no official injury report, that if the game had been closer, he would have played, blah, blah, blah. That's, I think, the best way to look at this. But I think it's okay. Like, I'm not freaking out that CD wasn't playing in this game or whatever the case may be. This was a great, great, great day. Let's take a look at some of the stats as we wait. Jerry Jones is talking right now. Let's see here. All right. Anyway, there's no quote from Jerry Jones yet at this point in time. I'm sure there will be some because that's the way that Jerry Jones goes. Let's take a look at some stats. Let's put them up on your screen. Share my screen. Let's see here. Goodness gracious. I'm trying to let this happen. Here we go. And I think you are seeing it. There we go. My computer was freaking out for a second. All right. Cowboys win 27-20. Let's take a look at some individual stats. Hunter Lipke had 3 carries in this game. That is a career high for him. He had 2 a few times to this point in his career. Finally, Rico Dowdle, I need to look, and I'll examine this obviously on Friday and as the weekend unfolds and whatnot, but 22 carries, this is what we want to see. All right. No offense to Hunter Lipke. I don't even need to see 3 carries from him. Definitely, like this. You want to give Zeke a carry, Mike? You want to do that? That's fine. You know what I mean? Like, I have no issue with that. He gets 1 carry, cool. But this is Rico Dowdle's backfield, as far as I'm concerned, as far as anybody's concerned. Anybody else who's taking touches is just honestly creating negative plays. Kevontae Turpin with the 1 carry. I'm not going to fret over trying to make the jet sweep thing happen. I do think that was a complicated way, a galaxy brain way of trying to get the ball in Kevontae Turpin's hands. However, Mike McCarthy did find some more creative ways to get Kevontae Turpin involved from a receiving standpoint. So I'm willing to give a little because he took a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I think that this was a positive kind of overall, symbiotic relationship kind of day between us and Mike McCarthy relative to Kevontae. Don't know Jerry Jones quotes. That's very interesting. That doesn't necessarily happen. Oh, the Dolphins have turned the ball over now. Goodness gracious. So good to see. Good to see Hunter Lipke, I guess, set a career high. Let's go to passing. Cooper Rush threw the ball 36 times, not quite the 55 that we saw the last time that he played a game in this building on Monday Night Football against the Houston Texans. But again, a very solid, methodical day for Cooper Rush. Did have the passing touchdown, obviously. We can sit here, we can debate again Trey Lance and whatnot, but I do think that Cooper Rush is legitimate. I think Cooper Rush is fine. I think that Cooper Rush can help you in certain respects. We're certainly seeing that. I think one of the most truthful things the Cowboys front office has said over the last year has been that Cooper Rush gives them the best chance to win games. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. And that's bearing itself out. So you can take a victory lap on that if you want, Dallas Cowboys front office. That still doesn't change the fact that the Trey Lance trade was bad or that, we kind of deserve to see him or whatever the case may be. But Cooper Rush, I thought, played really, really, really well. From a receiving standpoint, obviously CeeDee Lamb left the game, and so that kind of fudges the numbers a little bit. But Kevontae Turpin, your leading receiver from a yardage standpoint, and I'll be the first to admit, and I've written this, I've said this a million different times already, I've already made my walk of atonement like Cersei, but I did not believe in Kevontae Turpin as an offensive weapon. There's no doubt that he is a tried and true, legitimate offensive weapon that the Cowboys have to find ways to use. The Cowboys have to – he is arguably the most important offseason priority in terms of players on deals who are expiring. Priority number 1 is extending Micah Parsons, but he's under contract for next year, so I think that point is well understood. You have to bring back Kevontae Turpin. I would suppose that if Zach Martin or DeMarcus Lawrence want to come back, then maybe they supersede Kevontae in priority just because of who they are, but you get my general point that Kevontae Turpin is a priority, and if you don't pay him, then the Eagles are going to, and we're all going to be pissed off next year when he's got like 800 yards, receiving and like 400 yards rushing, because they're going to figure it out. It's going to be highly, highly, highly annoying. But Jalen Tolbert had 2 catches, that big one, 41 yards, good for him. CeeDee Lamb, like I said, whatever. But Luke Schoonmaker did not have 55 yards. He'd had at least 55 yards in back-to-back weeks. I still think, though, 5 receptions for 33 yards, a little bit more of a ho-hum day, and the Green Bay Packers have now taken the lead. Jaden Reed with the Lambeau leap against the Dolphins early on. I think that Luke Schoonmaker's coming on a little bit. I maintain that Jake Ferguson is a solid option, and if we look at position groups, I'm honestly really, really, really excited about the state of the Dallas Cowboys tight end group next year, because Jake Ferguson will obviously be back. Luke Schoonmaker will be another year into this whole thing. The Cowboys could have a tried and true, legitimate combination of players at tight end in Jake Ferguson and Luke Schoonmaker next year. We have said many, many times as a fan base that we want to see them operate a little bit more out of 12 personnel. I think that Luke Schoonmaker is certainly making that a very, very, very legitimate argument moving forward. Brandon Cooks, only 3 catches on 7 targets, 16 yards, but did have that really pretty touchdown. And that was such a great design by Mike McCarthy. And I use the word design, but that honestly feels it feels like too advanced of a way to put it, because it was just, hey, Brandon Cooks, go be the faster player. But those are the kinds of pieces of low-hanging fruit that we've been begging this front office to go pluck. Brandon Cooks is a faster player than most dudes who are going to cover him. So putting him on some sort of drag route like that is perfect. It's wonderful. It's letting him go win a track meet, and he did that. And Cooper Rush had just the right amount of touch. Cowboys got a touchdown, and I think that was really where we started to feel like this was going to be a win for Dallas, and it obviously wound up being so. Jonathan Mingo, let me put that up there. Let me scroll down a little bit. 4 targets, 1 catch, 2 yards. Bit of a tough start. I don't want to pick on that right now because things have gone so well for Dallas as of late. It just kind of is what it is. But we don't often look at the defensive sacks here. Eric Kendricks had, pretty solid day, I think. But DeMarvion Overshown was the clear, just superhero, Super Saiyan dude who this team needed. And the thought of him playing alongside Micah Parsons, with both of them playing it kind of at full operating power next year, is very, very, very exciting. And I say that, but we're watching them play together now. And I think that that's a big reason for the successes that we're seeing from this defense. It took a little bit of time, but we have to remember, we have to consider there's no DeMarcus Lawrence. If the Cowboys are able to restock the shelves, which is our biggest criticism of them, obviously, in off seasons in the past, this still could be one of the better defensive groups in the NFL. And DeMarvion Overshown is amazing. He's nowhere close to taking the mantle of best defensive player on the Cowboys right now because Micah Parsons exists. But if he were on any other team, I think he's in the running for best defensive player on that group because he is that special. So that's been a lot of fun. Deron Bland, I thought, had a solid game again. His first one at home, obviously, last week playing at Washington. Osa Odigizua is in a contract year, and, man, he is going to get paid by somebody next year. It obviously won't be the Cowboys because they don't pay anybody. It was such a bummer to see Josh Butler and Wanye Thomas go down with injuries. Obviously hoping for the best and rooting for them. They're good dudes, and would love to get some good news. That's why I keep waiting to see if Jerry Jones has anything to say. But, man, this was exactly what this team needed, right? I see UC Davis 115 says Giants covered punts really good today. Didn't give Turpin any chances today. That's right. That's fair. But to the Cowboys' credit, they found ways to get Cavante involved. They found ways to make sure he touched the ball. They found ways to make sure he impacted the game, and he kept drives alive. And so did the Giants, by the way. I know we're not here to totally discuss them, but, man, that team sucks. I'm sorry. This Cowboys team sucks in a lot of ways. Don't get me wrong. And like we've said, at least they're standing tall and not going out that way. The Giants seem more than comfortable to go out that way. And they're making horrible mistakes. Kayvon Thibodeau is supposed to be the leader or one of the leaders on the Giants. He had the horrible offsides penalty on the first Dallas drive that kept that drive alive. It turned into 3 points in what was ultimately a 7-point game. And those 3 points, by the way, also helped the Cowboys cover, if you're interested in that sort of thing, as mentioned. And what's more, he had that horrible unnecessary roughness penalty against Cooper Rush. This Giants team is really, really, really bad, which is also good news for the Cowboys because it's very, very unlikely that New York is going to be better immediately next year, regardless of who their quarterback is or their new head coach is, if they have a new one, or their new GM is. That team is truly, truly, truly lost. They are proof, as are the Chicago Bears on Thanksgiving Day, that it can always be worse. And that, again, speaks to how the NFL can lift us up after just beating us down. We're feeling pretty good since last Saturday night. Think about it. Last Saturday night, we were like, we hate this team. And I know that we still hate this team with most of us. But right now, we're that meme of I may hate you or whatever. I may be really mad at you, but I still love you, and I'll cover you with the umbrella. I feel like that's our take on the Dallas Cowboys at this particular moment in time. Now, I promised a bit of a playoff discussion. Still no quotes from Jerry Jones. This is strange for it to go this long. But that being said, let's take a look at the standings in the NFC right now. It's important to remember, obviously, that you and I are talking on Thursday evening. Once again, happy Thanksgiving to anybody who joined us late. We have seen 4 NFC teams play so far. The Green Bay Packers are playing at this exact moment. But just keep that in mind. Obviously, there's a lot of football that's going to be happening this weekend. It goes without saying that, the Lions and the Vikings and the Eagles, all these teams are well ahead of the Cowboys, blah, 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 blah. But we think about it, the Lions are going to win the NFC North, or one of these two teams, the Lions or the Vikings, are going to win the NFC North. I think that we would all bet on Detroit at this point in time, but you never know. But still, both those teams are going to the playoffs. So there's one wild card spot, and we have to look at things from that perspective because the Cowboys, if they find a way into the playoffs, are going to be a wild card team because this Eagles team is 9-2, and say Philadelphia loses on Sunday to Baltimore, that still puts them at 9-3. It's very, very difficult, even with Dallas playing them one more time, to imagine a world. Again, if we're talking about infinite possibilities here, where Dallas could win the NFC East, It is not the craziest thing ever to say that Dallas is a playoff team. I do think it's pretty crazy, but I do think that it's not worth having the discussion of Dallas necessarily winning the division just because Philadelphia has such a wide margin. That being said, Green Bay's obviously in the mix, and they're out to an early lead against Miami. But if they wind up being legitimate, that could be a second wild card team, obviously, coming out of the NFC North. The Commanders are a team that we obviously have to pay some attention to now because they're a threat for that. If we believe that the Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers are all going to the playoffs, and I think that feels pretty fair right now. Now, there will be some self-cannibalization there, obviously, but because of the fact that they're division rivals. But if we believe that at the very least 2, potentially 3 of those teams are going to the playoffs, that leaves one singular wild card spot open. Now, the Arizona Cardinals are 6-5 and currently leading the NFC West. Somebody's got to win that division. Maybe it's going to be the Seahawks, whatever the case may be. The Falcons are not really a threat here because we think they're going to win the NFC South. Whoever wins the NFC South, obviously Tampa's right there as well. The Cowboys still play the Buccaneers. They still have a chance to impact that. I mean, the teams that we're kind of looking at, if we're going to have to start doing some rooting guides now, plugging the boys, because the Cowboys are that close to, somewhat loose hope, if you want to look at it that way. And so the teams we have to be concerned with rooting against, I think, are Washington, because they're a threat to steal that third wild card spot. Whoever loses the NFC West, obviously, whether it's Arizona or Seattle, and the Rams residually or the Niners residually, because they're all kind of in that bubble of a mix right now. The Cowboys lost to San Francisco, so that obviously hurts them from a tiebreaker standpoint relative to things like this. If they lose to Tampa, that really makes things more difficult, especially if Atlanta continues to put some distance between themselves and the Buccaneers in the divisional race in the NFC South. So it's still a tall order. I mean, to be very clear, there are a lot of things that have to happen. But, I mean, I mentioned a little while ago that it's going to be great to watch college football this weekend, obviously rivalry week and whatnot, with the Cowboys win already being in the bank. We saw last week, if you're tracking things like that, if you care about college football, I imagine you do in the college football playoff, all it takes is 1 week. It takes 1 week of pure, absolute madness, chaos for things to suddenly be doable, right? You look at what happened just again, last week is a great example of college football with all these different top teams losing and opening the door of conversation, opening the door of possibility. And there are some division rivalries here. So you are kind of banking on threading a little bit of a needle and things going the exact way that you need them to do, which is a hole you've dug for yourself if you're the Cowboys because you lost all these games already. But as C. Davis 115 says, 3 guarantees in life, death, taxes, and no back-to-back winners in the NFC East, LOL. That is the only thing you can count on, obviously, but you can count on the fact that the Cowboys are going to make this a little bit of an interesting thing. Now, I don't know that I think the Cowboys are going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals next Monday night. And by next Monday night, I obviously don't mean 4 days from now. I mean a week from that. I mean whatever it is, 15 days from now. But the Cowboys are now 5-7. And if we just play the game, right, let's take this off your screen. If we play the game, say they lose to the Bengals, right? I don't think that would be shocking. Early odds had them as underdogs in that game. I think they beat the Panthers. So that would put them at 6-8. Maybe they beat the Bucks. That would put them at 7-8. All of a sudden now we're having a really, really, really interesting conversation. And then they go to Philadelphia on, 2 days before New Year's Eve. And that probably is the straw that breaks the camel's back. That is the bow, that breaks and the cradle ultimately falls. I think the least affordable loss they have, or the loss they probably cannot take, is Cincinnati, because I think we have to assume they're going to lose to Philadelphia, because that could also be for Philadelphia. You have to consider these things when you're looking at possibilities and different roads and whatnot. You have to think about that Philadelphia is in the mix for the 1 seed in the NFC. And that road became more difficult today when Detroit survived against Chicago. So they're going to be in the mix for that. And you have to presume that they're going to be playing hard, despite the fact that it's a division rivalry, and it's an NFL game and all these, kind of obvious things. But that you could make an argument that the Cincinnati game, again, in week 14 on Monday Night Football, the Simpsons game, is the most critical one, because I think we feel confident the Cowboys are going to beat the Panthers. I think we feel more confident that the Cowboys will beat the Bucks than they will the Bengals. And that's not to say that I think the Bucks are a pushover. I think the Bengals are a great team that is just running into bad thing after bad thing after bad thing and can't get out of their own way. So it's very difficult to assume that they're just going to, lay down and take this, which is why I'm more afraid of the Bengals. I see you, John. I think it's John Sr., maybe John SR 117 says crazier things have happened. Remember the Giants 8-8 Super Bowl run? I believe the Giants were 9-7. in 2011 is what you're talking about when they won the Super Bowl. But there have been 8-8 teams, obviously, who made the playoffs. None of them were the Cowboys because they very infamously went 8-8 3 years in a row and missed them all 3 times. It is possible, right? It's certainly possible. It's within the realm of possibility. I don't think you can dispute that. I don't think you can deny that. But it's difficult. It's difficult because of the hole that the Cowboys have dug for themselves. But you have to start somewhere, and they started last week in Washington, and they took step 2 today on Thanksgiving Day against the Giants. And that's all you can do at this point. C. Davis 115 says if we can go into Philly on a 4-game winning streak, I give us a good chance to beat them. To be honest, I can't walk that walk with you, but I do think that. If they beat Cincinnati, that Monday night game that we're talking about, if they beat Cincinnati, then let's play that out, right? We didn't kind of necessarily play the hypothetical that way. They're 5-7 right now. If the Cowboys beat the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football, that game is December 9th, just to put the date in your mind, because I know it's kind of getting weird 15 days from now, whatever. But December 9th, if they win that game, they are now 6-7. Now you are legit. And it's crazy just to think of it that way. It's crazy that one game can just flip the narrative, flip the percentages, flip the whatever you want so significantly, but it really can. So you win that one game, you get to 6-7. Now, all of a sudden, the conversation that we're having in the post game here in the BR app, and I'll be here obviously after that game as well, but the conversation you're having is this team is 6-7 and they play the Panthers on Sunday, right? Like, so you're saying you have a chance to go to Carolina and get to 500. And if you're 500, that Carolina game, again, to just kind of contextualize this a little bit, that Carolina Panthers game is on December 15th. If they win that, so now we're beating these 2 Cats back to back. First of all, the Sun Devils are beating the Cats on Saturday, the Wildcats. But if the Cowboys beat the Cats and the Bengals on December 9th, and then the Panthers on December 15th, all right, they beat these 2 Cats. They are 500 on the night of December the 15th. They are 500 with 10 days to go to Christmas. That sounds impossible, right? Like, that really sounds crazy and unbelievable. And you would have bet against it if I had told you that 5 days ago on Saturday night. But that's how the NFL works. The NFL is quick in that you can be on top of the world and then you can slip and you can fall and you can just completely and totally tumble down the hill. I agree with you. C. Davis 115 says Carolina could easily be a trap game. It's one of those games. Totally with you. And the Panthers have played some interesting football as of late, obviously pushed the Chiefs to the edge this past weekend. So I'm not here to assume anything. And I don't think you should assume anything in general, but we certainly can't assume anything when the Dallas Cowboys are involved because they have kind of proven that over and over and over again as of late. So that being said, it's a long way to go. But my ultimate takeaway today on Thanksgiving, the day of giving thanks, is that the fact that we can all sit here and have this conversation absolutely rules. And look, I'm sorry, again, if you're Team Tank, but the fact that we can sit here and we can dream, as ridiculous of a dream as this is, that's the whole point. That's what the fun of it is, right? The fun is sitting here look, this is a very popular weekend to put Christmas decorations up, right? I'll be doing that on Saturday around my house, right? We're putting up the tree and the stockings, and we're not elf on the shelf people, but if you are, you got that going on. I understand it's a stressful sort of thing, but it is the best thing ever. I mean, truly the best thing ever. When the Christmas things are up in your house and you turn the lights off at night and you get an alert on your phone or something like that, and it's your football team in the mix. There is nothing. I mean, absolutely. Look, you could be the biggest baseball fan, the biggest basketball fan. You can be a Formula One fan. You can be a fan of anything that you want, and it does not come close to that. The fact that our football interests are so intrinsically aligned and tied with, interspersed with the holiday season, it's just amazing. I mean, it's a feeling and an energy that doesn't come around no matter what. October's magical when it comes to the baseball playoffs. Obviously, the NBA finals are incredible, but when your football team is in it, when you're doing your Christmas shopping, when you're out there waiting outside of a store, or you're in line, you're driving, and it's too cold outside to not have the heater on, but you turn the heater on, then you're hot and it's really uncomfortable and your windows are fogging up and you get the alert that somebody's injured. That energy is what we crave. That energy is what we look forward to so much throughout the offseason. And I am grateful, I am thankful in the theme of the day that the Cowboys have put us in a position where we are allowed to feel that way, where it's not a joke to feel that way. It's still pretty ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, because they're 5-7, but they have opened the door to dream. And for that, I am grateful. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for all of you who follow me online or interact with me or whatever the case may be. I'm so fortunate to have the job that I do. The blessings in my life become more apparent on days like today where we obviously give thanks. So I hope you, yours, whoever you are, wherever you are, however you celebrated, whatever you ate, whatever you did, I hope it was wonderful. I hope it was amazing. I hope it was, re-energizing, recharging. I hope it was replenishing. I hope you had the best day ever. I hope the Cowboys obviously played a role in that. And I hope that you have an incredible weekend, an amazing weekend of football, and we get to enjoy it. That's the best. I mean, I'm so happy, and I hope that you're happy right now. So a very, very happy Thanksgiving from my family to you and yours. And I'll have some more stuff up as the weekend unfolds at bloggingtheboys.com, the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel, on social media at RJ Ochoa, just about anywhere that you can find stuff. And I'll be here after the Bengals game when we dream even more after the Cowboys play the Bengals with the Simpsons stuff going on. Thank you so much, everybody, for having some time here with me tonight. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you next time.